What is up, everyone? My name is Andrie. If you don't know me, if this is your first video you're ever watching, you should subscribe because, why not? But anyway, today I'm going to be doing a very exciting video, a video that I've been wanting to do for a long time, but I think now is the perfect time to do it. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking all about the Shadowhunter Chronicles. I'm going to be telling you how, when, and where you can enter the books without being spoiled. I'm going to be taking you through 4 different orders that you can read the books, but I will be giving a brief explanation for each of the series, and I will be telling you guys a bit about the main characters, so that when I cross-reference them, you will understand a little bit and you will not be confused. This video is for anybody who has never read any of the Shadowhunter books but want to, and it is also for all of you guys who are fans just like me, who love to hear people talk about them, and who may want to go back and reread them in a different order, or who didn't know about these other orders that you could read them. And I just hope that everybody who loves the Shadowhunters or wants to get into it can benefit from this video and will not be confused. My number one goal is not being confusing and not making you more confused than you were when you went into this video. But the 4 orders and the 4 ways that I have come up with that you can read the Shadowhunter books without being spoiled are Publication Order, Chronological Order, FOMO 2020 Order, and Andrie's Shadowhunter Order. That is what I've decided to call the last 2. It's not very original. But as we go along, I will explain each of the orders before I talk about them and go into them, and you will see what I'm talking about when I say FOMO 2020 and Andrie's Shadowhunter Order. I do want to do a little bit of a preface so that you know if I say certain things or abbreviate certain things, you know what I'm talking about. So, TMI equals the Mortal Instruments. TID equals the Infernal Devices. TDA equals the Dark Artifices. If I say the word mundane, that is somebody who is not a Shadowhunter. If I call somebody a warlock, it means they have magical powers, otherworldly powers, and they are immortal. Typically with warlocks, since they're immortal, they show up in other books, so that is why I would need to cross-reference it whenever I'm telling you guys the order of the books and not being spoiled. And finally, if I mention the word Parabatai just means 2 Shadowhunters who have become Parabatai before the age of 18, who have taken an oath to live, fight, and die for each other, and who are closer than brothers. It is more than a familial bond, it is more than a lover's bond, it is just all in all a wholehearted, soul-to-soul bond between 2 Shadowhunters who will, like I said, live, fight, and die for each other. I would like to add that though I am including the novella bind-ups, I am not including the Shadowhunters Codex or the Denzians of the Downworld, or any books that are extra like that. I am just including the actual physical text books that we actually have put out by Cassandra Clare. With all that being said, I'm not going to waste any more time, and I'm just going to go ahead and get on with the first order that I'm going to tell you guys how you can read the Shadowhunter Chronicles. First off, I'm going to be starting with Publication Order. So, Publication Order is pretty self-explanatory, but just in case you need a quick rundown. The series is written by Cassandra Clare and was started in 2007, and the books are still continuing to this day in 2020, and there are still more to come. So, kicking off Publication Order, we have City of Bones, which is the first book in the Mortal Instruments series. This book came out in 2007, like I said. The Mortal Instruments series follows Clary Frey, who believes she was a mundane from the time she was a young girl until her mom goes missing, and the only way to find her and to bring her back to safety is through a chance meeting with some Shadowhunters. From then on, Clary realizes and discovers that she indeed is a Shadowhunter, and she is forced to work with them and learn about them and learn about who she is to find her mother. In doing so, Clary meets Jace, Isabel, and Alec, who are all Shadowhunters from the New York Institute. They have all grown up with each other, and Isabel and Alec are actually siblings, though they do consider Jace to be their sibling as well. Also, Jace and Alec are Parabatai. But nevertheless, in Publication Order, the first book is City of Bones, followed by City of Ashes, book 2 in the Mortal Instruments series, and then we have City of Glass, the 3rd book in the Mortal Instruments series. Following along with Publication Order, the next book would be Clockwork Angel, which is the first book in the Infernal Devices trilogy. Yes, Cassandra Clare does take a break in between the Mortal Instruments. Don't be confused, it's okay. You can read Clockwork Angel, like I said, after City of Glass, without being spoiled for anything, because Clockwork Angel, the first book in the Infernal Devices trilogy, is a prequel, if you will, and it is set in 1800 in London. This story follows Tessa Gray, who has the ability to shapeshift into anybody as long as she has had contact with them or an item of their personal belonging. For this exact aforementioned ability, Tessa is sought out by a person called the Magister who wants to abuse her ability and keep her for himself. This is where we meet more main characters such as William Herondale, James Carstairs, Charlotte Branwell, Jessamine Lovelace, and Henry Fairchild. Also, James Carstairs and William Herondale are Parabatai. Following publication order, next would be City of Fallen Angels, which is book 4 in the Mortal Instruments series. And then we would have Clockwork Prince, which is the second book in the Infernal Devices trilogy. And then we would have City of Lost Souls, which is book 5 in the Mortal Instruments series. Next would be Clockwork Princess, which is the third and final book in the Infernal Devices trilogy. And then we would have City of Heavenly Fire, which is the sixth and final book in the Mortal Instruments series. Once you're finished with those two series, you would continue with the publication order with the Bane Chronicles, which is a bind-up of novellas all about Magnus Bane, who is a warlock. Since Magnus is a warlock, like I have mentioned before, he is immortal. So he does show up over the expanse of very many series as he has been alive through all of them. Next we would have Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy, which again is a novella bind-up, but this one follows Simon, who is a main character from the Mortal Instruments series. Next up in publication order, we would kick off the Dark Artifices series with Lady Midnight, the first in the trilogy. Lady Midnight is told in the point of view of Emma Carstairs and Julian Blackthorne, who are children from the Dark Lore, children of the events of the Mortal Instruments series. Though they were young, I believe about 12, in the Dark Artifices we catch back up with them when they are about 16, 17, and 18. Some main characters from the Dark Artifices are Emma Carstairs, Julian Blackthorne, a lot of Julian Blackthorne's siblings, such as Ty and Lydia Blackthorne, who are twins, Drusilla Blackthorne, Tavi Blackthorne, Helen Blackthorne, and Mark Blackthorne. Among those main characters, we do see quite a bit of a lot of characters from the Mortal Instruments and the Infernal Devices, and we also see some new characters, so there is definitely a lot of history, a lot of build-up to the Dark Artifices, but once you get there, it is definitely worth the wait. So, like I said, Lady Midnight would be the next book in publication order. Next would be Lord of Shadows, the second book in the Dark Artifices trilogy. And then we would have Queen of Air and Darkness, which is the third and final book in the Dark Artifices trilogy. Continuing with publication order, the next book would be The Red Scrolls of Magic, which is the first book in the Eldest Curses series. This book is all about Alec and Magnus and their relationship, and it actually takes place during City of Fallen Angels. Like The Red Scrolls of Magic, Ghost of Shadow Market came out in 2019, but Ghost of Shadow Market is actually another novella bind-up, I believe, of 9 stories that all have to do with the Shadowhunter world, and is told from the perspective of a character named Brother Zachariah. Ghost of the Shadow Market actually has a lot of characters that we have already seen, and also some characters that are coming out in future books, so I would definitely not pick up Ghost of the Shadow Market first. It holds a lot of spoilers and a lot of special moments, but once you get there, it is very amazing, and it just adds completely to the world building. Following publication order, next you would have Chain of Gold, which is the first book in the Last Hours trilogy. The Last Hours trilogy is going to follow the events of the prequel, The Infernal Devices. I guess you could say it is a sequel to the prequel, but it's just confusing to think of it that way, so just know The Last Hours follows The Infernal Devices. Chain of Gold and the entire Last Hours series is going to be told from the perspective of Cordelia Carstairs, who is new to the London Institute and new to the London Gang, which involves characters that are descendants and children from the characters in the Infernal Devices. Also coming out in 2020 is The Lost Book of the White, which is the final book I'm going to include in this publication order because it is the last known actual physical date that we have for Cassandra Clare's publishing schedule. The Lost Book of the White will be the sequel to The Red Scrolls of Magic and will be a continuation of Alec and Magnus's journey, and it will take place between the Mortal Instruments series and the Dark Artifices series. Okay, I'm sorry if that was really long, but that concludes my publication order. The next order I will be showing you guys is the chronological order of the Shadowhunter Chronicles, as it is from the entire series timeline. As I said, The Infernal Devices is a prequel and takes place in the 1800s, so if you want to read the books in chronological order, the first book to read would be Clockwork Angel, the first book in TID. Next in chronological order would be Clockwork Prince, which is the second book in TID, and then Clockwork Princess, the third and final book in TID. Following along with chronological order, the next book would be Chain of Gold, the first book in the Last Hours series. The following 2 in the trilogy would also be put here, but since they're not out yet, I will not be including them, but the title of those is going to be Chain of Iron and Chain of Thorns, so those would go here. So the next book would be City of Bones, the first book in TMI. Next would be City of Ashes, the second book in TMI. Then we would have City of Glass, the third book in TMI. Next, we would have City of Fallen Angels, the 4th book in TMI. Next, we actually take a break from TMI and we move on to the Red Scrolls of Magic, the 1st book in the Eldest Curses series. This book actually takes place during the events of City of Fallen Angels, so theoretically you could read both at the same time, or you could just wait and read this after City of Fallen Angels. Continuing in chronological order would be City of Lost Souls, the 5th book in the Mortal Instruments series. Then we would have City of Heavenly Fire, the 6th and final book in TMI. Next, in chronological order, you would read The Lost Book of the White, the 2nd book in the Eldest Curses series here. That book is coming out in September of 2020. Then we would pick up with the Bane Chronicles, followed by Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy, and then we would have Lady Midnight, the 1st book in the Dark Artifices series. After that, we would have Lord of Shadows, the 2nd book in TDA. Then we would have Queen of Air and Darkness, the 3rd and final book in the Dark Artifices series. And finally, we would end with Ghost of the Shadow Market. As I said, this book holds massive spoilers to all of the above mentioned books, so you definitely want to read this one after you've read everything else that I've mentioned. So the next order that I have to tell you guys is the FOMO 2020 order. What this means is if you are brand new to the Shadowhunter Chronicles, and if you have never heard any of the things that I am talking about, then this is the order that you may want to consider going into the books. If you have been hearing the hype of Chain of Gold and you want to finally get into the Shadowhunter Chronicles, you finally want to get into Cassandra Clare's books, but you don't want to miss out on Chain of Gold and you've already pre-ordered it because that cover is gorgeous, then the FOMO 2020 order may be the one for you. What this extra bonus order that I decided to include means is that you start your Shadowhunter journey with Chain of Gold. It really doesn't matter if you start here because Cassandra Clare has said that you will not be spoiled for any other books and you will not be confused because everything that you need to know will be explained and will be pretty much in the exposition of the book. However, there will be spoilers for the Infernal Devices in Chain of Gold just because the descendants and children of the Infernal Devices are the main characters of the Last Hours, so they will be in Chain of Gold. So, if you are the type of person who is okay with knowing who ends up with who, then you could definitely start Chain of Gold and then go back and read the Infernal Devices or whatever. Just make sure you know that going into it, and if you're okay with that, then go ahead and do that. FOMO means fear of missing out. So, if you are scared of missing out on Chain of Gold, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna read Chain of Gold and you're gonna live your best life, and you're probably gonna cry even if you don't know the history because it is going to be sad, it is going to make everybody cry, and it is going to also be very awesome, and I cannot wait. But you're going to read Chain of Gold, and then you're going to go ahead and pick publication order, or you're going to pick chronological order, and you're just going to continue the series, and you're going to be very happy that you made that choice. Now for the 4th and final order that I'm going to show you guys. This one is Andrie's Shadowhunter order. This one is my personal reading order and it is my personal journey for the Shadowhunter Chronicles. I was very late to the game. Like I said, City of Bones came out in 2007 and I did not pick up City of Bones until 2017. So, not to be biased or anything, but this one is a pretty solid way to read the Shadowhunter Chronicles, again without being spoiled at all. Starting off Andrie's Shadowhunter order, we have City of Bones, the 1st book, and the Mortal Instruments series. Next, I read City of Ashes, the 2nd book in TMI, followed by City of Glass, the 3rd book in TMI. Here, rather than going on to the 1st book in the Infernal Devices series, Clockwork Angel, I did not do that. I just completely kept on going with the first series, 1 through 6. So the next book in Andrie's Shadowhunter order would be City of Fallen Angels, the 4th book in TMI. Next, I read City of Lost Souls, book 5 in TMI. Then I finally finished off the Mortal Instruments with book 6, City of Heavenly Fire. I then picked up the Infernal Devices right after finishing the Mortal Instruments and started off with Clockwork Angel. Then I read Clockwork Prince, the 2nd book in TID. Finally finishing up with Clockwork Princess, the 3rd and final book in TID. After the Infernal Devices, I jumped right into the next big series, which was the Dark Artifices. So I first read Lady Midnight, the 1st book in TDA. Then I followed that with Lord of Shadows, the 2nd book in TDA. Next, I wrapped up the Dark Artifices with Queen of Air and Darkness. After that, I actually went to the signing on release day for the next book that I read, which was the Red Scrolls of Magic, the 1st book in the Eldest Curses series. Next, I read Ghost of the Shadow Market, and then I read the Bane Chronicles, and then I read Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy. Next, I will be reading Chain of Gold, the first book in the Last Hour series, as soon as it comes out in March. I already have my book pre-ordered, and I'm actually going to meet Cassandra Clare again on March 7th, and I cannot wait. After that, in September, I will be reading The Lost Book of the White, the second book in the Eldest Curses series, continuing Magnus and Alex's journey. And that concludes Andrie's Shadowhunter order, the final order that I wanted to tell you guys. And I do plan on doing more Shadowhunter themed videos in the future, because if you can't tell, I just really love everything about them. Overall, I hope I helped some of you guys who want to start off your own Shadowhunter's journey, and I hope I cleared confusion rather than adding to it. If you have read the Shadowhunter Chronicles in any different order, please let me know what it is down below. I'd love to know. I think it's very interesting. Or if you actually read it in publication order, or chronological order, or Andrie's Shadowhunter order, which could also be your order. It's not like I'm that special. Anybody could read it like that. Or if you're gonna be reading it in FOMO 2020 order, let me know down below. I'd love to know. But that's all I have to say for you guys today. So I hope you liked this video. I hope you liked this video down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!